Welcome back. Well, the CEO of Chevron, Mike Wirth, warning the Biden administration and its plan to refill the Strategic Petroleum Reserve at $70 a barrel. Wirth says refilling the SPR at $70 a barrel is not necessarily a wise move and that it should be refilled on a steady basis. Meanwhile, OPEC Plus is scheduled to meet Sunday to discuss the next phase of production policy. Joining me right now is the American Petroleum Institute President and CEO, Mike Sommers. Mike, it's great to see you this morning. Thanks very much for being here. First, I want to get your take on what the Biden administration wants to do and what Mike Wirth is warning against. The administration wants to refill the Strategic Reserve because they've been selling oil steadily. We've talked about this. We're at dangerously low levels. We're at lowest levels since 1984 in the Strategic Reserve. This is supposed to be an emergency stockpile of oil, and he's been selling it steadily as if we're in some emergency here. But now he wants to refill it at $70 a barrel. Mike Wirth says probably not wise to refill it at such expensive prices. Your thoughts?
Well, as we've talked about before, Maria, the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, unfortunately, has become the Strategic Political Reserve, and we have grave concerns about how it has been so politicized. This is for emergency purposes, not to lower gasoline prices during a political season. So, of course, it's important to make sure that we have the proper reserves in the SPR. But I think doing this willy-nilly and doing it in a way that doesn't make sense for the market we're in, we could be dealing with another major oil crisis here in the next few weeks, depending on what happens with these Russian sanctions, depending on what happens with OPEC. So we need that reserve to be where it is. But we're also real concerned, Maria, about how low it has gone. Lowest levels since 1984, not necessarily because of market conditions, but because of political concerns. So this should be a real concern for all Americans.
Well, I mean, the administration says, OK, we'll stop selling oil when oil reaches $70 a barrel. I mean, we're at 81 right now. And, you know, Mike Wirth is saying don't do it at 70. So, I mean, when are you going to do it to refill this? What would be the plan, the best plan in your view?
Well, the best plan, in my view, is for us not to continue to use it in a way that is for political purposes, and rather do it in a market-based way. And if there's an emergency, that's what this is for. And the real concern is that in 1984, when it was at the levels that we're in currently, we were using 20% less oil. So today, as the economy has continued to grow, we're going to need more in the SPR, of course. But let's do this in a way that makes sense for the market, not in a way that does it for political purposes.
Yeah, I mean, look, this administration, we know, continues to attack big business, and oil companies have come under fire for the profits that they make. The White House continues to claim that there are 9,000 unused leases, and that the leases are there and the oil companies are not using them. But the administration fails to discuss how tough it is to actually get the permits. So tell me about that in terms of what Biden needs to understand with this war on American energy. First, watch this. Listen to this. I want to get your reaction.
There is no shortage of opportunity for these companies to produce oil here in the United States. They're sitting on 9,000. You've heard us talk about this, 9,000 unused but approved drilling permits.
The president has issued 9,000 permits for drilling on U.S. federal lands, 9,000 of them being unused. There are plenty of opportunities for oil and gas companies to drill here in the United States.
So are there 9,000 permits or 9,000 leases? Because I know the permitting process has a whole host of bureaucracy in it. And I'm told by oil CEOs that it's hard to get those permits.
Yeah, this is such a myth, and it's been debunked multiple times, but the administration continues to use it. They make it seem like as soon as you get a lease that you can start drilling on that property. That wouldn't be the environmentally sound thing to do. You have to do a lot of prep work before you actually produce on those federal leases, including getting multiple permits. So this is a myth that they've been touting out there for many, many months. We all know it's untrue, and I wish they'd stop using that false statistic. The truth of the matter is that one of the reasons why production hasn't gone up is because they're using the SPR for political purposes. They're flooding the market with oil right now, and rather than letting the market work and producers to continue to produce more based on markets, they've used the SPR in a political manner, and that has actually put downward pressure on the amount of production that's occurring in the United States.
So just to be clear, we just heard John Kirby, State Department spokesperson, and Karine Jean-Pierre, Joe Biden spokesperson, both used the word permits, 7,000 permits. But that's not actually the case, is it? It's 7,000 leases, and then you have to get the permit. So in other words, they just misled us by saying 7,000 permits.
That's exactly right, and I hope the fact checkers out there actually check the facts on this before they continue to use this false statistic.
I'm listening to it. I'm saying to myself, wait a second. There aren't 7,000 permits. There are 7,000 leases. Then you have to go through the bureaucracy of getting a permit. So they just lied to the American people by saying there are 7,000 permits.
That's exactly right. And I think that we need to continue to state the facts here. And we know that this administration has completely slowed down the permitting process on both federal lands and federal waters. And this isn't just a lands issue, as I said. This is an offshore issue as well. We get almost 20% of American oil from the Gulf of Mexico. They still haven't put in place a 5-year plan that would allow us to continue to lease in the Gulf of Mexico and produce in this highly prolific region. So I think the administration should stop talking about these false statistics and instead get these permits approved so that we can continue to produce both on federal lands and in federal waters.
I mean, it's unbelievable to me. Right there is an indication of they actually have no idea what they're doing, and they have no idea what they're talking about when it comes to oil production, because they just said that there were 7,000 permits, and there are not 7,000 permits. There might be 7,000 leases, but the lease does not give you the permit to drill. So, I mean, you know, this is the issue when you actually have people running the government that have never been in business, that actually have no idea about the oil industry and how it works.
That's exactly right. And in fact, right now in the United States, we are operating at the highest level on those leases right now than we ever have. So the fact that they are continue to tout this statistic, which we all know is untrue, I think shows that they don't understand this business and that we need to continue to produce here in the United States. The American Petroleum Institute has a plan to encourage more production here. It's called the 10 and 22 plan that we've been talking about since June. We hope they would actually start adopting that. We hope that House Republicans adopt that plan when they get the majority in the House of Representatives as well.
All right. We will be watching that. Mike, it's great to get your take. It's amazing. I'm sitting here and I'm listening to these sound bites, and they just right there, you know, misled. Mike Sommers, thank you so much. We'll be right back with the next hour of Mornings with Maria.